As calls for safe return of hostages held in Gaza intensifies, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared to confirm on Saturday that new Qatar-mediated negotiations were underway to recover the hostages. Earlier, Israel's intelligence chief met the Qatari Prime Minister amidst the efforts to bring about a deal for the release of hostages. Moreover, Netanyahu also vowed to maintain intense military pressure on Hamas in Gaza.
We are working with Qatar and Egypt. We have serious criticism of Qatar, about which I suppose you will hear in due course, but right now we are trying to complete the recovery of our hostages.
The Israeli army released a footage on Saturday showing operations in and around Kamal Adwan Hospital in Beit Lahia, northern Gaza. The Israeli troops also said that weapons were recovered in and around the hospital, which they claim was used as a compound for Hamas. It added that 90 Hamas fighters were arrested during the operation. Turkey, Romania and Bulgaria plan to sign a deal in January on a joint plan to clear mines floating in the Black Sea as a result of the war in Ukraine. The agreement, expected to be signed next month, would be the first major joint action of Black Sea nations since President Vladimir Putin started the war on Ukraine in February 2022. Black Sea states Turkey, Romania and Bulgaria met officials from Georgia, Poland and Ukraine in April 2022 to discuss clearing the mines after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Defense ministers from the three countries also held talks on the plan at a NATO meeting in Brussels in October and in Ankara last month as they worked to finalize the initiative. Shelling hit an oil reservoir in a suburban district of the Russian-controlled Donetsk city on Saturday, setting the reservoir aflame. It was the second time in the last 24 hours and the third time this week that the artillery fire hit oil storage in Donetsk. The capital was annexed by Russia amid an ongoing military operation against Ukraine in September of 2022. The Russian-backed city authorities haven't commented on the incident and there was been no immediate response from Ukraine. Kuwait's Emir Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmad Al Sabah has died aged 86, according to the royal court. He died just over 3 years after assuming power in the US allied Gulf oil producer. Authorities gave no cause of death but announced the start of a 40-day official mourning period and a 3-day closure of government departments. The Emir was admitted to hospital late last month due to what the state news agency described at the time as an emergency health problem, but said that he was in a stable condition. Kuwait's Crown Prince and his half-brother, Sheikh Mishal Al Ahmad Al Jaber Al Sabah, was subsequently named new Emir, a statement from the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of State for Cabinet Affairs said. Sheikh Nawaf was sworn in September 2020 after death of his half-brother, Sheikh Sabah Al Ahmad Al Jaber Al Sabah. Now, the Indian government has announced one-day state mourning throughout India to mark the demise of the Emir of State of Kuwait, Sheikh Nawaf Al Ahmad Al Jaber Al Sabah. The Emir of the State of Kuwait passed away on Saturday. As per the Government of India, the national flag will be flown at half-mast throughout India on all buildings where it is flown regularly, and there will be no official entertainment on the day to mark respect to the departed dignitary. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak warned the threat of growing number of refugees could overwhelm parts of Europe. Speaking at a political event in Rome organized by his Italian counterpart Giorgia Meloni's right-wing party, Sunak said hostile powers would use illegal migration as a weapon to destabilize societies. While in Rome on the one-day trip, Sunak also met Giorgia Meloni and Albania's Prime Minister Edi Rama for talks on illegal migration. Sunak survived a major threat to his leadership on when he won a vote in Parliament on an emergency bill to revive his plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, seeing of a rebellion from some of his lawmakers. And former US President Donald Trump took aim at President Joe Biden at a rally in New Hampshire, where he warned of World War III and pledged to prevent it. Trump leads his rivals for the Republican nomination by nearly 50 percentage points in national opinion polls. Trump has pleaded not guilty to 4 felony counts, accusing him of attempting to defraud the United States and obstruct Congress through schemes to overturn his loss to President Joe Biden. Russian President Vladimir Putin's announcement to seek re-election in the upcoming presidential election has garnered strong support from the Russian people. His high approval ratings and endorsement from a group of voters in Moscow reflect the widespread backing for his bid. DD India's correspondent Dasha Chernashova is in Moscow for more insights.
The initiative group of voters has unanimously supported Russia's incumbent president Vladimir Putin's self-nomination in next year's presidential election. Under the Russian law, a group of at least 500 voters should be formed to support a candidate's self-nomination. And organizers of the Saturday event say there were over 700 voters officially registered and supporting Putin's bid. On the 8th of December, Putin announced his intention to seek re-election in March 17 presidential vote. Earlier this week, Putin held a 4-hour-long Q&A session answering questions from the citizens and journalists. He reassured there was no need of another wave of mobilization in Russia and said Moscow was strengthening its positions along almost entire contact line. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov told media on Friday that Ukraine is unable to win the conflict with Russia and that the US is well aware of that. Peskov added that the US was throwing away billions of dollars of its budget funds allocated for the military and financial aid to Ukraine. He also insisted that despite that aid, Kyiv has failed to make any major progress on the battlefield. Dasha Chernashova reporting in Moscow for DD India.
And Chadians are voting on a new constitution, a key step towards promised elections. Transitional President Mahamat Idris Deby, who has governed the country since 2021, had promised to hand power to civilians and hold elections this year before postponing them to 2024. DD India's Isaac Lucando has more.
8 million voters are expected to decide on a new constitution in Chad. The vote tests the legitimacy of the over 30-year rule of the Deby family. President Idris Deby's death in 2021 threw Chad's politics and military into disarray. His son Mahamat Idris Deby now leads a transitional military council that is attempting to hold on to power. Many analysts predict a yes vote due to a well-funded ruling junta campaign. The opposition, on the other hand, has faced divisions, arrests, intimidation and threats over the last year. Their hopes are pinned on a low turnout to challenge the family dynasty's power. A country of about 17 million people, the United Nations ranks Chad as the world's second least developed country. Isaac Lucando in Dar es Salaam, reporting for DD India.
Congo will vote in a general election next week. Thousands attended opposition candidate Martin Fayulu's final campaign rally on Saturday ahead of the December 20 vote. Fayulu, a former oil executive and leader of the Engagement of Citizenship and Development Party, came second to President Felix Tshisekedi in 2018. Meanwhile, opposition parties and independent observers have warned that issues including illegible voter cards, blocked campaign planes and electoral list delays threaten the legitimacy of the results. Chile is gearing up for Sunday's second referendum on a new constitution where citizens will vote to replace the old constitution that dates back to the 1973-1990 rule of General Augusto Pinochet. The push to rewrite the constitution was due to the protests 4 years ago, sparked in part by deep inequality that many blamed on that framework. This is Chile's second attempt at drafting a new charter. The first attempt was rejected in September 2022 by voters. In the event of its failure, the government would not push for a third rewrite, instead try to amend the current text to include popular proposals. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has pledged to strengthen cooperation with the Association of Southeast Asian Nations in the economic and security fields to pass on what he called a trust-based cooperative relationship to future generations. Kishida spoke at a special summit in Tokyo to mark 50 years of friendship between Tokyo and ASEAN, which opened with a banquet on Saturday. Kishida said the core of the relationship between the two sides is mutual trust. He also added that Japan hopes to create a strong economy that will produce further vitality and grow together with ASEAN by bringing together each country's strengths in face of crisis that may be difficult for countries to resolve on their own.
The core of Japan-ASEAN relations is, above all, mutual trust. What underpins this trust is our precious history of consistently working together, even in time of hardship. We would like to pass on to the next generation this heart-to-heart relationship.
This year's Hong Kong Brands and Products Expo kicked off on Saturday at Victoria Park. The 24-day fair boasts more than 900 booths and stalls selling food, cosmetic products, clothes and much more. It's the very first Hong Kong Brands and Products Expo after the city lifted all COVID curbs. Excitement was in the air even before the fair opened. This year's most popular booth was in one that offered goodie bags of dried seafood at the bargain price of $1. And a heavy storm hit Florida on Saturday, causing rainfall and gusty wind around the coastal area. Footage received from Hollywood, Florida, showed choppy waves, palm trees shaking in the wind and flooded parking lots. 17 million people residing in Jacksonville, Orlando and Tampa are under threat of severe weather, local media reported. Florida governor instructed the Florida Division of Emergency Management to monitor the low-pressure system heading toward southwest Florida and activated the Florida State Guard to prepare to respond to impacts. Well, let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. Alex Batty, the British teenager who resurfaced in southern France after disappearing 6 years ago, returned to Britain on Saturday, local police said. The boy had disappeared at the age of 11 in 2017. The police informed that the teenager met with a relative and police officers who accompanied him on his journey back to Britain. Cardinal Angelo Becciu was convicted on Saturday of embezzlement and sentenced to 5.5 years in jail. He was the most senior Catholic Church official ever to stand trial before a Vatican criminal court. The trial, which exposed infighting and intrigue in the highest echelons of the Vatican, lasted for 86 sessions over 2.5 years. Simba, the majestic lion of a Brazilian zoo, celebrated his 15th birthday in Rio de Janeiro on Saturday. He munched on a delicacy made out of meat and chicken as visitors snapped his pictures. Guests at the party were the zoo visitors and his caretakers, who said they were proud of maintaining the well-being of Simba during his years at the site. A large crane hoisted a new copper rooster back to the top of spire of Notre Dame on Saturday as renovation speeds up. The old rooster that was damaged in a fire accident in Cathedral in 2015 will now be displayed in a new Notre Dame museum. Notre Dame is set to reopen for religious services and to the public on December 8, 2024. International legend Rafael dazzled thousands of fans in Madrid on Saturday night as part of his victory tour to mark his career journey that spans more than 60 years. The 80-year-old belted out 30 songs, including his iconic hits, attracting a cross-section of generations to the Wheezing Center in the Spanish capital. Venezuelan children race on wooden go-karts called carruchas as kickstart to Christmas season. The race, which is also a local tradition of El Retiro in Caracas, is organized every year in an attempt to get the children away from electronic games and to encourage them to play traditional games. Well, still to come on this edition of DD India Live. The Indian stock markets enjoyed a highly profitable week. Stay with us to know more. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reaches Mayurbhanj in Indian state of Orissa. (2023) Khelo India Para Games to conclude with a closing ceremony today at New Delhi.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts. We demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Surat in Gujarat and Varanasi in Uttar Pradesh on 17th and 18th of December. On Sunday, Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate the new integrated terminal building at Surat Airport and will inaugurate the Surat Diamond Bourse. Thereafter, PM Modi will travel to Varanasi and will participate in Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra. Prime Minister Modi will also inaugurate Kashi Tamil Sangamam 2023 at Namo Ghat in Varanasi. Prime Minister Modi will inaugurate a new terminal building and the Surat Diamond Bourse in India's Gujarat. The terminal highlights local culture and aims to provide a unique experience to visitors. DD India correspondent Vishal Baristo spoke with the chairman of the Airport Authority of India, Sanjeev Kumar, for more insights.
I'm here at the Surat International Airport and Prime Minister is going to inaugurate a new terminal at this airport on the 17th of this month. I have with me Chairman of Airport Authority of India, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar. Let's talk to him and find out. Mr. Sanjeev, in what way it is going to be an absolutely fabulous new terminal?
So, it would be fabulous because Honorable Prime Minister is coming and inaugurating it and dedicating it to the nation, to the state. It would be fabulous because on that day, this airport would become full-fledged international airport. It would be fabulous because the first international flight after Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Union Government, yesterday declared to be international airport. First flight would be going tomorrow at 11:40 by Air India Express from here to Dubai. So it would be a fabulous day for all of us.
Now, in what way will it enhance the capacity and how many flights would this airport cater? International.
As of now, the capacity of our airport is limited because it was an old terminal. With the new terminal, we will be able to cater to 8 to 10 flights of Airbus 320 or Boeing 737 per hour. We can service almost 1,800 passengers per hour, domestic, international together. We have configured in a way that if international passengers are more, then we can cater for more international passengers, and if the domestic passengers are more in a particular hour, then we can reconfigure, we call it swing operation, so that the same space can be utilized for domestic passengers also. So it will enhance the capacity of existing Surat airport by 2.5 times to 3 times.
Prime Minister has been very vocal for local, from vocal to local and from local to global. So in what way ethnic look will add another feather in the already feathered cap of Surat?
Taking inspiration from the Honorable Prime Minister, and we have incorporated the very rich cultural element of Gujarat and Surat in our airport, in design of the airport terminal and also in the interiors of the airport. Gujarat culture is really very rich and very encompassing, very wide. So it is not possible to capture all the elements, but we have tried our best to capture the important element of the Surat city, of Gujarat, traditions, art and culture in a design of this new terminal.
So there you heard the chairman. It is going to be absolutely aesthetically very beautiful and also ethnically so very attractive. With cameraman Rahul in Surat, this is Vishal Baristo for DD India.
The Indian stock markets enjoyed a highly profitable week. Experts say the markets are poised to do even better as the rally will continue. More in this report.
On the 14th and 15th of December, the Indian stock markets made history. The major indices opening each day at fresh lifetime highs and hitting new peaks. Over the last month, the 30-share sensitive index of the Bombay Stock Exchange, the BSE Sensex, has gained 8.65%, or 5,689.02 points, closing at a fresh closing high of 71,483.75. It hit a new lifetime high on December 15 of 71,605.76. Similarly, the broader 50-share index of the National Stock Exchange, the Nifty, gained 8.74%, or 1,724.85 points, closing at a new closing high of 21,456.65 and hitting a fresh lifetime peak of 21,492.30 on Friday.
What it indicates is that India's corporates are doing very well. It also indicates that over the past 8 or 9 years, corporates have deleveraged very effectively and so are now well positioned to grow at a good pace going forward. They're growing at a sustainable pace, having deleveraged. And you're seeing very strong corporate earnings growth, which of course is ultimately dependent on the strength of the economy.
After India's strong economic performance in the first 2 quarters of the fiscal 2024, the Asian Development Bank revised upwards its forecast of India's economic growth rate to 6.7% for FY24.
With the economy likely growing over 8%, you have very strong corporate earnings growth, and that translates to a good stock market performance. This is a very different kind of stock market. If you look around the world, there have been speculative surges in other places. But India has outperformed most emerging markets in the last 10, 20, 30 years, in any sort of horizon you look at.
India's Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman had told Parliament that the economy was moving in the right direction and India had become the fastest growing major economy in the world. She said the macroeconomic fundamentals are fine and that India's Q2 growth of 7.6% is the highest in the world. She also said that inflation had stabilized within the 2 to 6% range of the RBI.
This is an article which was published in Wall Street Journal, a leading US newspaper, on 28th November. It's not something which is old, 28th November. The title of that article was interesting. It said, virtually everything has gone right for India. And in that it says, rupee has lost, and I quote, rupee has lost less than 1% of its value against the US dollar this year, compared with the decline of more than 3% for the Chinese yuan, a roughly 9% fall in the South African rand, and an 11% slide in the Japanese yen. Indian economy is benefiting from reforms put in place by the government of Prime Minister Modi, unquote. This is Wall Street Journal telling about the Indian rupee versus the US dollar.
During most of 2023, India's leadership of the G20 exposed world leaders and their representatives to India's economic reforms. India's direct benefit transfer system was recognized as a logistical marvel, given the country's size. CEOs from major business houses have expressed their interest in India's growth story. India is expected to be the world's third largest economy by 2030, with a GDP of around $7.3 trillion by then. India is now being seen as the biggest investment destination. India is at the forefront of discussions on alliances and strategic partnerships with governments across North America, Europe and the Global South. Bureau Report, DD India.
Well, let's take a look at other stories making news today. India's Special Task Force has taken into custody a suspicious Kashmiri person from India's Odisha for allegedly being linked with terror activities. The suspect was staying in Indian western state of Odisha's Jadpur district for about 1 decade, personifying himself as a doctor. Indian government's outreach program Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra reached India's Mayurbhanj in western state of Odisha on Saturday. Hundreds of people gathered at the event to listen to the interaction of PM with beneficiaries across the nation. Meanwhile, people took benefits of health camp and witnessed the exhibition on agri-products. Viksit Bharat Sankalp Yatra started in the urban area of India's Rohtak in the northern state of Haryana on Saturday evening. A message by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was played at the occasion. The Prime Minister also virtually interacted with the beneficiaries of various schemes and launched the Vikas Bharat Sankalp Yatra in 5 states. 3 dead and another 3 injured late on Saturday night after a dumper truck rammed into local restaurant in India's Uttar Pradesh. The injured have been sent to hospital for treatment and the bodies of the deceased have been recovered. Well, you're watching DD India Live and time now for sport. Team India will play its first ODI match against South Africa in Wanderers in Johannesburg on Sunday after the just concluded World Cup. Young players are expected to make an impression in this new era for both teams as they prepare for the ICC Champions Trophy in 2025. KL Rahul has got the onus to lead India in the 3-match series. Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma are not part of the ODI series. Rinku Singh may make his ODI debut, joining Rahul, Ruturaj Gaikwad and Shreyas Iyer. The Indian team management hopes these young players can fill the gaps against a weakened South African attack without Anrik Nortje and Kagiso Rabada. The 2023 Khelo India Para Games will conclude with a closing ceremony on Sunday at New Delhi's JLN Stadium. The games took place from December 10th to the 17th and featured 7 sports disciplines, including para badminton, para table tennis and para powerlifting. The games were held at 3 venues in Delhi, including the Indira Gandhi Stadium, Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium and Karni Singh Shooting Range. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can connect with us on Facebook, X formerly known as Twitter, and Instagram as well. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Prasar Bharati from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.